Well, I did study in Chicago dentistry and spent some years in Chicago. And from the very first day, I found myself in a very rich experience. America is very different than Europe, and it's totally different world. And I said to myself that I'm having an experience now. I must keep my eyes open to see everything. Probably one day I will be able to write a novel, and that's exactly what happened. Uh, I present in Chicago a kind of a place which is the Department of Histology in the School of Medicine, where you have almost everybody. You have Egyptian characters, Egyptian immigrants, you have newcomers, you have Egyptian students, and you have American characters as well. And through the reaction between my characters, probably we could reveal many cultural problems and cultural stereotypes, especially after 9/11. And you could see probably some hidden aspects of the American societies and some drawbacks and weak points of the Arab culture as well. Well, that was my only dream to be a novelist since I was child, because my father was a known novelist in Egypt and I was his only child, so I was very attached to him, and we had literature in the air in our house. Everything was literature. My father and my father's friends and the books and everything. So that was my only dream. And you cannot make your living from literature in the Arab world, even if you are a successful writer. Naguib Mahfouz, for example, the Nobel Prize winner, had to work for the government till the age of retirement. So I had to find another profession. So that's why I became a dentist. I went to the US to study dentistry, and then I came back and I wrote 3 books. And I had problems to get published by the government. So every book was refused to get published. I made a very, very small edition of 500 to 1,000 copies. And the last refusal was 1998. And then I wrote the Ecobian Building, and that was my first really meeting with the readers. And now even my previous works are to be published all over the world. I define the novel as a life on the papers that is similar to our daily life, but more profound, more significant, and more beautiful. And I believe that's a real challenge, to be able to produce a real life on the paper, in the sense that at one moment when you read the novel, you feel that what you are reading is real, and these characters are real characters, and there is a real life in the novel. And I think this is the most essential. It's much more important than the theoretical assumptions of any novel. It's life. I think that there is much in common between the career of a novelist and an actor. You see, there is much in common, because you cannot be a novelist unless you are really capable at one moment to not to be yourself, to be really your characters, to feel what your characters feel, and to talk in their names. And I believe it's very, very similar to acting. So I try and I succeed while I'm writing a novel. I know that at one moment I am the character. How can I get to an inside of a female? I tried all my life to understand the human being, and I always have this curiosity to know exactly how the people feel and why they do react this way and not this way. And I think this is my human experience that could give me probably the ability to write in the names of my own characters. I believe people are people everywhere, and I try to present this in my books. And it is really fascinating to me that my characters are well understood in the West by people who have never been to Egypt, but they could understand through my novels some Egyptian characters suffering, for example. And I think this is a real success for a novel, to be able to be understood and felt and appreciated everywhere. Literature is a human language. Literature teaches us that we could be different in color, in religion, and even in culture, but we are all having the same human hearts and the same human feelings. And if you remember any good novel you read, you will never think about the characters as Jews or Muslims or Chinese or Egyptians. You will think, in a good novel, you will think about the characters as human beings. So I believe that it's a good literature which makes us much better human beings. I think that a good novel is a good novel everywhere, and it is not the question of the topics of the novel. It's a question of how the novel was written. And I remember a wonderful sentence by Garcia Marquez. He said that the good subject is not enough necessarily to write a good novel, but the good novel necessarily will present a good subject. And I think this is very true. Well, so far I didn't have really serious troubles. In Egypt, I have friends who are writers who had really serious troubles. For me, I didn't have so far any serious trouble. I had troubles, but very, very almost negligible. For example, in the premiere of Jacobian Building movie, I was not invited because the security objected my name, and I am the author of the novel. But this is not comparable to serious problems which happened to my colleagues. To me, so far, I didn't have really serious trouble in Egypt. I take dentistry as a branch of medicine, and because you are dealing with the people and with the people body and people pain. And medicine, interestingly, gave literature much more novelists than any other profession. You have many, many people who were practicing medicine and novelists, like Sommerest Maugham in England, like Emile Zola in France, like Anton Chekhov in Russia, many, many Arab writers as well. And I think this, the reason for this phenomena is that both medicine and literature are dealing with the same issue, with a human being and a human pain. And I believe that when I practice dentistry and then I set to write a novel, I don't feel at all that I am leaving a word to another word. I believe that I am always with the people, and that was very, very useful to me as a writer. And that's why I keep now working in my clinic, because I need this human contact with the people. And I consider my clinic as my window through which I see what's happening in the Egyptian society. And I think that's it very essential.